A new poll reveals that more than 54% of Americans support mass deportations of undocumented migrants. The Scripps News-Ipsos poll found that includes 86% of Republicans, 25% of Democrats, and 58% of independents. Let's bring in our political panel, Joel Payne and Kevin Sheridan. Joel is a CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist. Kevin is a former RNC spokesperson and former senior advisor to Mitt Romney's 2012 presidential campaign. It's great to see you both. Thank you. So, Kevin, I want to talk about this polling and what it means for the Trump campaign. Does he need to focus even more on immigration?
He talks about the issue a lot. It would be great if he could just talk about nothing else but immigration, the border, even the deportation issue that's popular, and nothing else. Just that and inflation, and he'd probably be ahead by 5 points right now. But of course, he's always getting off track a little bit. But yeah, this is a huge issue for Americans. The voters are going to, I think, be heard on that this year. I think if we can't agree that there should be some deportations among at least the criminals that are here, the gang members, even some of the military-age men that are here, single men, then I don't know if the parties can agree on anything, because that poll says it all, 54%.
Joel, for Democrats, their greatest defense has been, well, we tried to get something done. We had this bipartisan border measure that Republicans blocked. But does she need to expand her messaging? Because clearly this poll shows that people want something done about the undocumented migrants that are already here.
Yeah, I think the poll shows that people want something done, and I think that's an instructive point. What they don't want is demagoguery. I mean, you've got J.D. Vance, who, after numerous fact checks, including by his own governor, by members of the news media, a favorable Wall Street Journal saying that the stuff he's saying about Haitian migrants who are in that town in Springfield, Ohio, is untrue, won't back off of that claim. And look, I think that certainly explains some of this. You have demagoguery, and you have people who are kind of taking advantage of the American people's psyche on this issue. Yes, we can all agree that border security is important, and I think that's why Kamala Harris has, expressed an interest to do something. But I think if there is not a good faith understanding that we can prioritize border security without demonizing and dehumanizing people who come to this country from other countries, then I think that's where the conversation stops.
And speaking of rhetoric, there's been a lot of talk about that since Sunday's second apparent assassination attempt on the former president. And today we heard from Steve Scalise. I want to play what he said.
There is very specific rhetoric we can now point to that we know is triggering some of these people who are unhinged, who take it the wrong way and want to carry out what is being sent to them by Democrats talking about this.
And Joel, your response to that?
That's just bad faith. I mean, and look, completely understand the perspective of Leader Scalise, and understand the attempt that was made on his life. And I'm so glad that he survived that and that he is on the road to recovery. But he's offering a bad faith argument there. Donald Trump, the day of the assassination plot that was unveiled, put out a tweet that said, "I hate Taylor Swift," and was continuing to propagate these ugly lies about Haitian migrants. He is the person who is elevating the rhetoric. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden have not done that. In fact, they called him, they reached out to him. They want a politics where we're not talking about issues of ugliness. Kamala Harris has repeatedly talked about that. They're going to disagree. We should not stop dissent. Dissent is important, but that is bad faith from Steve Scalise and from Republicans who don't want Donald Trump to be held accountable.
Look, the White House continues to call him a threat.
He is.
Okay. If he's a threat and dangerous to democracy, then that's the rhetoric that we need to turn down. That's exactly what Steve Scalise was talking about. And that rhetoric hasn't gone away. You're still talking about it. You're still saying he's a threat. You just said it. He's a threat.
He is.
Okay, so what does that do to people that are unhinged?
I mean, I think calling a threat what it is, he's an existential threat. He's talked about when he'd be a dictator.
He's an existential threat to the country? Then yeah. Wouldn't that be justified? I mean...
What, wouldn't someone unhinged take a version of something that I'm saying and do something unintended with it? Like, yeah, that's possible, but that's bad faith. I mean, I think that Kamala Harris calling out
I think it's time to drop
Donald
the dangerous
Trump,
threat.
Calling out Donald Trump for his poor rhetoric and his dangerous rhetoric versus actually inciting people. There's a difference. And look, I understand that we are both on our sides here, red team, blue team, but I think we can understand that, like, Democrats are not asking people to go and use political violence. It's Donald Trump and its Republicans are actually the ones who are talking about political violence in that way.
In what way have Republicans called for
maybe
violence?
Donald Trump Jr. making fun of Paul Pelosi for getting attacked with a hammer in his own home? What do you?
I think there's been.
Yeah.
So we agree that we could bring it down on both sides.
We can, but I think that those are
in this current moment where he's still being attacked, and we have a Secret Service that apparently can't protect him.
I do think there's a difference, though, between, and look, we might just have to agree to disagree on this. There's a difference between blindly violent rhetoric and calling out your political opponents for your disagreement. Donald Trump is welcome to disagree with Kamala Harris.
The country is not going to end if Donald Trump gets elected. We saw what he did with 4 years. I'm not condoning January 6th, but to say that the country will be over and he's a threat to the democracy itself is just way too hot.
I'm going to have to agree to disagree on that one.
I think I would love to talk to you. Do we have more to go on? Do we have some time, Allie, to talk about? Let's just change gears for 1 second, because Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I'm sure you have both heard what she had to say. We have that sound as well, if we could play it, about Vice President Harris.
Not only do my kids serve as a permanent reminder of what's important, they also keep me humble. You can walk into a room like this where people cheer when you step onto the stage, and you might think for a second that you're kind of special. Then you go home and your kids remind you very quickly you're actually not that big of a deal. So my kids keep me humble. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris doesn't have anything keeping her humble.
All right, Kevin, she's getting a lot of heat for this. Was this a mistake to attack a woman who doesn't have children?
Yeah, I mean, you never want to attack somebody for not having children. When I first heard that, I didn't read it that way. But yeah, if that's what she was actually trying to say, I don't think that's a great way to go at her. There's so many ways to attack her fairly on her record, on the fact that she's got no policies right now, that she can't answer a simple question about whether or not you're better off now than you were 4 years ago, or what she's going to do on the economy specifically. She's just speaking in pablum, and that's where the ticket should be attacking her.
It's hard not to say that that's purposeful. You've had J.D. Vance make similar comments. If Republicans are going to say that, to just own it, but they shouldn't back away from that type of rhetoric.
Thank you both so much for this very lively conversation, and hopefully you can come back soon.
Yeah.